The film opens on a tender, yet eerie note. We see Jess, a caring but troubled woman, holding her young son close as he trembles from a bad dream. "Don't worry, I'm on your side," she whispers, trying to convince him that the nightmare is nothing but a fleeting shadow. The next morning, as Jess readies herself for an unexpected trip, she steps into her garden to grab some clothes and stumbles upon her son's broken toy. A sad remnant of his earlier play, where spilled crayons had turned his art session into a mess. Distracted by the scene at home, Jess is startled when the doorbell rings. Checking outside, she finds no one. With a heavy heart, she packs her bags and invites her son to join her. When he refuses, she's forced to leave him behind and step into the unknown alone. Later, Jess meets up with a friend who notices her obvious fatigue. "You all right, Jess?" he asks. "I'm not worried, just exhausted," she replies with a dismissive smile. Soon, he introduces her to a small group of companions, and together they board a boat aptly named Triangle, ready for a much-needed escape. On board, weariness overtakes Jess, and she drifts into a troubled sleep. In her dream, she finds herself wandering along a desolate beach, a vision so vivid it jolts her awake. When a concerned friend asks what happened, she brushes it off as merely a nightmare. Meanwhile, another friend, Greg, is pulled into a puzzling conversation. Someone questions why Jess didn't bring her son on the trip. Greg explains, rather oddly, that she claimed her son was at school, even though it's Sunday. Brushing aside the absurdity, he urges his friend to focus on the present. As the day wears on, dark clouds gather and a massive storm looms over the triangle. In a frantic bid for help, Greg contacts a nearby ship. Over the radio, a mysterious girl's voice warns, "He'll kill us and save us," before cutting out abruptly. The storm hits with full force, and despite their desperate attempts, the boat succumbs to the fury of the sea. Life jackets save the group as they scramble to escape the sinking vessel. Clinging to the wreckage, they eventually find themselves near another, even more ominous ship. One friend is missing, and as they wave for help, they notice the massive ship drifting silently toward them. Boarding it, they're met with an unsettling emptiness. While exploring, Jess confides in Greg, "I feel like I've been here before." Their curiosity deepens when they uncover an old drawing, a sketch of this very ship alongside an image of a king and a cryptic inscription. The inscription tells the legend of a king who stole a massive stone from a mountain at the behest of a death god, believing it would grant him eternal life. Instead, the stone's ceaseless fall condemns him to repeat his mistake until he finally learns his lesson. The group gathers to pore over the eerie history when a clanging sound interrupts them. One friend finds a set of keys that unmistakably belong to Jess, even though she's right there. Shocked murmurs spread through the group until a timid girl suggests, "Maybe I'm Heather," the one who vanished when the ship sank. They decide to check out a nearby room, hoping for answers. Inside, the room is a disturbing time capsule filled with recently abandoned personal items. A glance at Jess's watch reveals it stopped at 8:30, while Greg's is frozen at 11:30. Before they can process the mystery, another noise lures them to a different room, where a message, scrawled in blood on a mirror, blares, "Go to the theater." Despite Jess's urgent warnings to Greg about the potential danger, he pushes forward into the theater, leaving her to return to a room where, unbelievably, a fresh meal now lies spoiled on the table. When Jess re-enters that room, she finds her two companions gone. Before she can gather her thoughts, a blood-soaked friend bursts in and attacks her. In the ensuing struggle, he's fatally injured, and a gunshot rings out. Rushing to the theater, Jess discovers Greg has also been shot. Amid the chaos, another friend sobs and reveals in a trembling voice, "Before he died, Greg said, 'Jess shot me.'" Jess, incredulous, protests, "Why would I kill Greg?" Another voice adds, "You told us he was calling. So we came, following your command." Jess is left utterly confused by the mounting calamity. Just then, a mysterious stranger appears and shoots both of her remaining friends. Jess bolts, the assailant in hot pursuit until his ammunition finally runs out. Desperate, she grabs an axe from nearby and turns to face him. "Who are you? What do you want?" she demands. The killer, voice low and unnerving, murmurs, "Kill everyone. It's the only way to go home." Before she can extract more answers, he dives into the water, leaving Jess alone with her fears. Her heart pounding, Jess hears eerie sounds echoing through the corridors. Investigating, she finds the wrecked ship again. Only now, a spectral assembly of people, including another version of herself, stands on its deck, pleading for help. Horrified, she flees. The truth slowly dawns on her. She's caught in a time loop, trapped in a cycle that repeats every moment of terror. No matter how many times her friends board the ship, every iteration seems to play out exactly as before. And somewhere in this nightmare, the real Jess watches it all unfold, as if from the shadows. In her panic, Jess's keys fall to the floor as she rushes into yet another room. There, she sees a duplicate of herself, the real Jess who appears to know what's going on. But confusion reigns as a friend, misinterpreting the scene, attacks the doppelganger. Amid the struggle, the friend's head collides with a door handle, injuring him. Escaping into another room, Jess discovers scattered papers with a single, chilling command: kill everyone when they're on the ship. As she copies the line, she notices dozens of lockets bearing her own image. The horrifying realization strikes. She's ensnared in a relentless time loop. Determined, the true Jess vows to break the cycle, desperate to find a way to save her son. Armed with a gun and fueled by a resolve born of desperation, Jess embarks on a grim mission to end the loop by eliminating everyone, even if it means facing herself. But when a wounded friend steps in her way, her weapon fails to fire. In a moment of tragic confusion, she hides among her duplicates, mistakenly attacking one of them, and another friend dies in the process. Soon, the grisly scene escalates. Greg lies dead, and an older version of Jess emerges, corralling two more friends. When the real Jess tries to call them to reason, the older Jess orders them to ignore her, dragging them into a room and stabbing them mercilessly. A male friend is killed outright, while another, battered but alive, escapes to the control room, frantically broadcasting over the radio, "She's killing us." A message that echoes Greg's final words, sealing yet another loop. Amid the chaos, the real Jess confronts yet another version of herself. Convinced that this other Jess is behind the carnage, she chases her through the corridors of the ship, only to discover the lifeless body of Sally, a dear friend, among a spread of corpses. The brutal truth emerges. Every attempt to break the pattern only tightens the cycle of violence. Even the older Jess's desperate bid to shatter the loop has backfired disastrously. In a final, desperate act, the new Jess tosses the old Jess into the water, and Sally's life is claimed as well. As Jess watches her entire group gather once more on the wrecked ship, pleading for rescue, she understands all too clearly that when everyone dies, a new loop begins. Determined to force an end to the cycle, the real Jess returns to the theater. There, she scrawls "Go to the theater" on a mirror once again. Inside, she confronts two friends with a cryptic message that Greg had left, and in a moment of madness, she shoots Greg. In the ensuing chaos, another version of Jess, the new Jess, appears among the group and promptly turns on her companions. The cycle of pursuit and escape intensifies as Jess finds herself both the hunter and the hunted. In a desperate final showdown, the real Jess chases down the new Jess, believing that if she can eliminate every version of herself, she might finally break free. But the new Jess has other ideas, hurling her into the water. With her last breath, the real Jess echoes the haunting words once spoken by her older self: "Kill everyone, and the loop will begin again." Time and again, we are thrust back to the beginning. The real Jess finds herself on the same beach from her nightmare aboard the Triangle. Returning home, she encounters yet another Jess, a version that scolds her son for leaving a toy in the garden. The child, witnessing this, accidentally spills his paint, prompting a brutal outburst as this Jess beats him. When the doorbell rings, the other Jess leaves to answer it, and the real Jess seizes the moment to eliminate her duplicate. The child, having seen everything, is consoled by the real Jess, who hugs him and whispers, "It was just your nightmare." Concealing the lifeless body in a bag in her car, she drives off. But fate has more twists in store. Along the road, a seagull suddenly collapses against the windshield, dying instantly. At her burial, an eerie gathering of seagulls, echoes of past Jesses, appears, deepening the mystery. Her son, alarmed by the blood on the car, watches in horror as a truck collides with them. In the ensuing accident, it appears that both Jess and her son have perished. Yet the body at the scene isn't the real Jess. Somehow, she manages to escape, and a concerned taxi driver picks her up. "Are you okay?" he asks gently. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replies, masking the chaos inside. The taxi drives her back to that same strange place, the Triangle ship. Determined to restart the loop in the hope of saving her son, Jess returns. The taxi driver, as if expecting her arrival, remarks, "Ma'am, I've turned off my meter. Will you be back here again?" With a weary nod, She replies, "Yeah, I'll be back." As she nears the ship, a familiar friend greets her and asks, "Did you bring your son?" Jess deflects with a vague remark about him being at school. Moments later, Greg appears, and the disturbing sequence we've seen time and time again begins anew. In the end, the grim truth is revealed. Jess's repeated neglect and mistreatment of her son is the root of this endless nightmare. Punished by a vengeful death god, she's trapped in a time loop, a cruel lesson she must learn if she is ever to break free. To cover her mistakes, she has resorted to killing her duplicates, all in a futile attempt to escape with her son. Yet, no matter how many times she resets the cycle, she never learns her lesson. In a final twist, the taxi driver is revealed to be the death god himself, forever returning her to the triangle. The film ends on this haunting note, leaving us to wonder. Will Jess ever realize the error of her ways, or is she doomed to repeat this tragic loop for all eternity?